very warm welcome to this edition of Crown Report, and today we are in Hyderabad and I'll be taking you to T-Hub, India's largest incubator for startups. After the launch of Startup India initiative, T-Hub is trying to create a dexterous community of entrepreneurs to propel more startup success stories. Come along with me on this vibrant journey. Hyderabad on the road to be a startup hotspot. With a strong focus on suitable policies, the government has tried to facilitate an ecosystem that promotes effective mentorship and development and that relies on improved ease of doing business. The result is T-Hub, India's largest startup incubator that stands on the intersection of startups, academia, research and development. T-Hub is the first of its kind public-private partnership between Telangana government and 3 central academic institutes: IIIT Hyderabad, Indian School of Business, Nalsar Law University and private organizations. T-Hub was launched in November 2015. Its mission is to help technology-related startups. For a nominal fee, it gives them working space, access to mentorship, networking opportunities and workshops. T-Hub is itself a startup that has grown leaps and bounds. From providing startup spaces to creating an environment that allows startups, corporates, investors and academia, not only Hyderabad but from across the globe, to coexist.
Quite a few things have changed in the last 4 years. One of the things is that startups today are actually acceptable where they weren't even 4 years ago. It used to be, in fact, as an anecdote, 4 years ago a lot of my founders were in their 20s and they would tell me that they have 3 or 4 years to be successful, beyond which they had to get married, and their parents told them that if they're an entrepreneur, no one will marry them. That's not an issue anymore, right? After we started T-Hub here, about a year later, Prime Minister Modi announced Startup India, and the minute a Prime Minister of a country says that startups are okay, it becomes okay to the general population, including all of these parents. The other big shift that happened is that all of a sudden governments were starting to say, okay, if this is a mandate for the country, how do we make this happen as well? And so although Telangana was the first to really start doing this in an organized manner, now many states are trying to do it also.
The Indian technology startup landscape has evolved to become the 4th largest in the world. India is breeding more than 100 tech startups that are expected to sail into the billion-dollar club. Here's how these tech startups are bringing laurels to the country. For research scholar Sunil Kumar, the initial days of 2015 turned out to be his eureka moment, the period when he discovered how to bring together the Internet of Things and biomedical applications. After meticulous survey, he identified the sensor and battery as key for an Internet of Things that interacts with the external world. His idea resulted in making sensors that bridge the path between outside world and the digital world. That's what his startup is all about. It makes blue semiconductors that are devoted to pursuit of zero. Here, zero means zero size, zero power and zero cost. The product is patented as the world's most accurate temperature sensor. Sunil asserts the time is ripe for India to become a global manufacturing hub.
India has been seen as a services-based country to the outside world, and with the initiative of Make in India, at least people are now changing their mindset and thinking that India is gonna be a product-based country. Till now, we always buy products or the chipset from China or other parts of the world, and then we only assemble in India. But I believe India should have its own fab plants wherein we develop every product from scratch. And if you see, there's a new product from IIT Madras as well recently. So this can be an initiative, but this has to be continued.
Tanmay's startup is all about innovation in digitization and technology. His product is a high-accuracy, intelligent fuel sensor that identifies fuel theft and unusual usage patterns and alerts transporters. In the process, it ensures optimal utilization of a fleet. The venture provides critical information in real-time location, speed, driver behavior, and vehicle status. Given the features, Tanmay's venture has opened new vistas for tech startups.
There are so many good organizations out there, which including us. So we have a good product, we have good customers in place, and access to funding, if that is given, made more easy, I think that would really help us scale much faster and see tremendous results.
Even the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has unveiled a colossal opportunity for the startups. Several eco-entrepreneurs are entering into the waste management market, expected to touch $13 billion by the year 2025 to convert your trash into their cash. The Banyan Nation startup is devoted to fighting India's environmental crisis. Its founders wanted to find answers to the ecological degradation triggered by the huge volume of non-recycled plastic. They soon realized that except for water bottles, all other plastics, instead of being recycled, are downcycled, which means they are broken down into component elements or materials. In this process, elements that can't be reused are discarded. Banyan Nation, on the other hand, and re-engineer plastic waste. 1,200 tons per year. It renders it as close to virgin plastic as possible, which allows it to be reused in manufacturing. The thermal technology that Banyan Nation has developed gets rid of contaminants like metals, labels, auto paints, inks, dirt, oils, adhesives from plastics. While plastic is its focus, Banyan Nation has become a holistic waste management platform driven by the Internet of Things. Its data tracking platform monitors waste flow, from rag picking to kabadi collection to delivery to aggregators. Banyan Nation's IoT platform provides a bird's eye view of waste streams. This plastic recycling startup has also won the Dell People's Choice Award for Circular Economy Entrepreneur as part of the Circular Awards at the World Economic Forum held in Davos.
We are revolutionizing the plastics recycling industry in India, and we're doing it in two ways. One is through the plastic recycling technology itself. As you can see, this plant, and we are today the only company in India. You saw the lab inside, how we have rigorous standards for the quality of recycling that we put out, and that enables mainstream brands in auto sector and FMCG sector to be able to use our recycled plastics. So the technology is, something really that we've developed in-house. It's a technology that's made in India, and it's made for India. It's made for the Indian waste scenario, which is different from the West.
From affordable medical devices to application of artificial intelligence to genetics and diagnostics, the health tech startups are making their presence felt. Here's how they're redefining the healthcare market in India. Prevention, as they say, is better than cure. And here's a preventive diagnostic device that can give your doctor a heads up about the state of your heart. Hyderabad-based Mointra Health is creating a small band-aid-like strip that can help the doctor monitor a patient's heart with the help of cloud-based technologies. The idea involves a small round strip of approximately 10 mm thickness. It has sensors to transmit data instead of wires, as is the case with ECG. Mointra has already finished its first functional prototype and plans to further enhance the design by including motion sensing. Its objective is to make sense of data and build machine learning capabilities in future.
One thing I've realized is as soon as the doctor knows what's wrong with this patient, therapy kickstarts. You start off with medication. If medications, usually work, if they don't work, then they'll go into intervention, which will be procedures, surgeries and all. But the biggest dilemma in the entire healthcare system is how do you identify disease much earlier in the life cycle? Because if you can do that, you create significant value not just for the patient, because you don't need to go into a critical stage where you have a procedure done. Second is, from the insurance standpoint, the life cycle cost comes down.
Tuberculosis today affects 1/3 of world's population. It is also the leading cause of death across globe, having claimed 4,23,000 lives in India in 2016 alone. A staggering 40% of Indians are estimated to be infected with a highly contagious bacteria. A greater majority are affected by latent TB than the disease itself. Statistics suggest that the disease, which claims a life a minute, has made India the TB capital of the world. Healthcare startup Docternal is focusing on non-invasive tuberculosis screening solutions. Docternal's leading product, Timber, aids in TB screening. It is a screening app where a medical practitioner or healthcare worker records the sound of cough of an individual along with their demographic and clinical variables. The data is processed real time and combined with deep learning to detect if the cough is TB positive or negative.
When I moved back and I could actually see the palpable differences, wherein there's lots more awareness, and awareness and inspiration and momentum giving institutions. So, and a lot of different events that keep happening on a weekly basis. So I think there's a lot of momentum right now in the startup industry in India already.
Even global startups are scouting for potential tie-ups with Indian startups. Here's how cross-border exchange of technology is getting firmer. When Canada's Richard Sass travelled across Asia for 4 years, he was struck by the enormity of the problem of air pollution. Researching the subject in Canada, he discovered that no less than 92% of the world is breathing polluted air. This propelled him to work on a product that could help people breathe cleaner air. He developed O2 curve mask that filters air up to nearly 98.6% and filters particles up to fine particulate matter of PM 2.5. O2 Canada is one of the 9 startups that are part of T-Hub's India-Canada Global Bridge program. Currently, its founder is in India to understand the market and expand its operations here.
I think there's a big opportunity here for startups, especially in sort of the environmental space. Of course, it's a massive market. The biggest challenge we're having with our product is price point. I think India is a very price-sensitive market. So we're here with the T-Hub team to try to figure out how to perhaps do a different business model strategy as a go-to-market for this market in India.
T-Hub is aiming to become the go-to destination in India for any startup in the world to scale, and also the destination for startups across the globe to come if they want to make it big in India. Global companies such as Boeing, UTC, HSBC, Qualcomm have worked with startups from T-Hub as part of various programs. Similarly, T-Hub also has an international market access program where startups from other countries get an opportunity to enter Indian market.
So the whole purpose here is to validate their business models for the Indian market. We help them to localize the business model and the pricing, the way they go to market, to ensure that they can be successful in India. A lot of even large corporates have failed entering the Indian market, so we want them to get as close as possible to success.
The Government of India as well as many state governments are creating a conducive environment so that the startups survive and thrive. But what more do these startups want? Let's find out. The Startup India initiative was first announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his 15th August 2015 address from the Red Fort. A national policy framework for startups was launched in February 2016. Called the Startup India Action Plan by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, it had a total corpus of 10,000 crore rupees. Since then, the government has floated over 50 sector-specific schemes for startups. It is clear that startups need the right ecosystem to grow into businesses that can positively impact the economy and society.
Some level of polish initiatives have already been taken with the previous government in terms of Startup India program. We would expect those to be implemented well. There's a lot of room for the program has brought in all the ecosystem players together with the Startup India program. So the implementation level, possibly the incubation centers have to come up strongly to catalyze the education institutions and research institutions to come to the ecosystem in a full-fledged manner.
By 2020, India will become the world's youngest country with an average age of 29 compared to 37 years in China and the US and 45 years in West Europe. This demographic potential offers India and its economy an unprecedented edge. The World Economic Forum has already stressed that a young labour force places India in a key position to shape global fourth industrial revolution. Poised to be a global power in the 21st century, India has undertaken several initiatives and instituted policy measures to foster a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship to promote job creation.
Startup India has been greatly successful. The startup is an activity which creates entrepreneurial spirit among the people. It helps people to bring out the best in them, help them to develop business models and actually create jobs in the process. So it has been a great economic activity which was motivated and driven by the mission of a Prime Minister. We are trying to implement it in its true spirit. I'm very glad to see that there are literally thousands of startups which have come up all over the country.
The next challenge for T-Hub is to nudge startups towards focusing on technology in order to solve real problems in India, as opposed to emulating solutions that already exist. For that would cement truly India's image as a startup nation, while making its startup ecosystem the best in the world. A catchphrase at the T-Hub reads that the secret of getting ahead is getting started. India is the fastest growing economy in the world, and any robust 21st century economy ought to be premised on innovation, technology, aspiration and self-employment. Well, that's all I have for you in this edition of Ground Report. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha Television.